I present a saint who sells rum, a merchant, a manager, a banker, a chartered accountant, a corporate director, a public executive who has drunk more power than is stored in the vast vats of Guyana's distilleries and the world-famous prize-winning rums without becoming intoxicated by any of it. I present Chancellor, a giant of industry, yet a small man, like you, diminutive in stature, yet great in humility and simple sincerity. Chancellor, such is the caliber of this humble gentleman that he can withstand the weight of yet another honor and recognition from his own university. He has been associated with the University of Guyana as its chairman of the endowment fund that built the Chedi Jagan Lecture Theatre located at the Turkine campus of the University of Guyana. Chancellor, that you may further confound the old lie that a prophet is not without honor save and except in his own country. Today, the entire university community, indeed all Guyanese, present Dr. Yesu Persuad that you may, according to the authority vested in you by the Academic Board and the Council of the University of Guyana, confer upon him the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. I present Dr. Yesu Persuad to you, sir.
Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the honors and privileges thereof.
Chancellor, it is now the university's special privilege to invite Dr. Yesu Persuad to accept appropriately the honor just conferred on him. Dr. Persuad.
Well, let me begin by saying, first of all, good morning. And most of the people here seem to be Guyanese. And I perhaps a medical doctor on that ship. And he died in Guyana, yes, British Guyana then, because that ship had cholera. That was never reported. Cholera is something that wipes entire populations out. So when we talk and try to divide people, let's remember, we all came in ships and we all suffered. And if we're going to build a nation, we have to do it together and work together. And not work because you want to create wealth. You want to create jobs. When I returned to this country, before leaving, my boss was saying to me, you going back to our country, where there, only 2 months ago, one section was killing another section and they're putting fire to homes and all of that. That's the country you want to go back to? I am giving you an opportunity here. England is your home. And I said to him, thank you very much, sir. I had a commitment to my family. I have to return. I came here to get a qualification, which I worked hard to acquire. I'm going back home. And that's how I returned to Guyana. And when I returned to Guyana, I didn't realize that I came back, everything was sorted out for me. I came as a Krung agent, returnee. So all my passages, for me and my family, all our furniture, everything was packed, came back. But when I came back, I discovered, working for the Inland Revenue Department, I thought it was a lot of money because when I left Guyana, it was a lot of money. It was only 300 Guyana dollars a month. Half of that went in rent. How can I live? So within 2 months, I had to decide, do I stay in Guyana or do I return to England? Well, I made the hard decision, I stay on. And in 2 months, there were advertisements of jobs, and it so happened, I'm telling you the story as it is. It's a story in itself. I decided, all right, I'm going to hold on for 2 months. And then there were several advertisements in the press. I applied for every job. Surprisingly, I was called for 4 interviews. I couldn't go to all. I decided on 2. Sambach Parker and the Guyana Communications Corporation was also advertising. But I said, no, I've had enough of government in the past. I don't want to work in government. I applied at Sambach, and it so happened that the chairman of that company was a Scotsman, and he had worked in the Far East, and he knows how third world country operates. He gave me a story of what's going to happen to Guyana in time. And he was accurate to a T. Are we going to break into factions, break into various areas, and destroying ourselves? Anyway, that's all gone. I was the first Guyanese when Oliver Jessel, I don't know how many of you remember Oliver Jessel. No? No? Well, Oliver Jessel was a takeover king in England. He had taken over Sandbach Parker, DeMar Company Holdings, and several companies. And he paid a visit to Guyana, but he was a very ruthless man, but a very good man if he fired you. I was sharing the Scotsman who had come 3 months earlier. The former chairman was sent home, and he was acting chairman. The Scotsman. I won't call his name. Mr. Jessel walked into the office. He was on visit. I was sharing the office with this gentleman because he came 3 months earlier. And he didn't have a clue about this company, what it was doing, how you manage it, and so forth. So he called me in. He said, Yesu bhai, sit near me now. Just like this, like a Guyanese. I want you to help me run this company. Well, Oliver Jessel came in. Must have learned that this guy, I have a clue what's going on. Walked in the office, came in and said, Yesu, do me a favor. Can you leave me with Mr. McGrath for a few minutes? 5 minutes later, he came back with a scrap of paper. I, chairman of the DeMar Group, hereby resign my position, but I have been assured that all sums due to me and any lump sum will be paid in full. So and he left me with this paper. He said, I'd say to you, young man, look after him, okay? See that he gets everything, and he and his wife stay in the house until they're ready to leave. Not knowing the following morning, Mr. Jessel left. The following morning, Oliver Jessel had left a message. He wants to see Guyanese promoted in this company of his. Chairman called me in and he says, did Mr. Jessel tell you? I said, no, sir. He said, well, I want to inform you now. You are now the first, let me repeat this, the first Guyanese to be appointed group financial director of the Sandbach DeMar group of companies. So I said, thank you very much, sir, but I didn't apply. I know a lot of people had applied. And he said, well, don't worry. You're the man we want, and you're going to stay here. And moreover, you came back from England recruited by the Crown agents, didn't you? I said, yes. He said, well, as a returnee Guyanese, you didn't return as a Guyanese, you returned as an expatriate, having been recruited by the Crown agents. So you'll be entitled to all them little things like them I get, you can get them too. And that was something. In fact, it was the first time ever. And that was my beginning in Guyana. So you could say from Loji, I don't mind that. Yes, I lived in a Loji. And I was glad because it gave me an experience of what people had to go through in menial, horrible conditions. And yet we survived. But that was one beginning. DeMar Company, Sandbach Parker did very well. And as a group finance director, I reported directly to London, not even to the chairman. And I had to go to London every second month because Oliver Jessel was taking over company like he was crazy. It needs somewhere there. You don't take over companies unless you know what's there and what is in the water you can't see. So his hour would come. I'm not going to go to that. But he was a nice gentleman, I would say, and I learned a lot from him. And over the years, I decided, look, if I'm going to stay on in Guyana, I've got to help. This is a poor country, and I have to help people. And one of the first things I did, I don't know how many of you have heard of IPED, the Institute of Private Enterprise Development. Anybody here? Well, IPED was conceived by me because I looked around and poverty was so glaring. And by then, one government, I won't call the name, had decided after nationalization, they're going to ban everything. So nothing was being produced locally. The then president, I went to see him. And I explained to him, look, this is my idea. But he said, how are you going to do it? I can't give you the money. This country bankrupt. I said to him, sir, will you leave that to me? I know how I'll get the money. IPED, even today, it's 32 years since I started IPED. I gave it up in January this year to my successor who was one with me from the beginning. And IPED is still going up, up, up. The Bank of Guyana, if I'm saying this wrongly, it's the Bank of Guyana, told me that in terms of finance and helping people, the number one institution in Guyana is not a bank. It's a non-bank, but it's a banking type of institution. It's IPED. And IPED, over the years, over the 30-odd years, has helped start their own little businesses from scratch. Over 30,000 people. The other thing in this, when I chose my board of directors, I said to them, look, I've started this whole concept. I've never taken a penny out, and I will not take a penny out. And I'm asking you as directors, if you want to come in and help people to help themselves, I am asking you to forego all the directors' fees and fringes and whatnot. And I'm proud to say, to this day, not one of them has asked for a penny. So indeed, when you're doing something for people, don't expect to put your hand in the till and take money. So IPED, in my opinion, is a classic case. In point of fact, a gentleman in Bangladesh started something similar, and in my opinion, per population, per capita, hasn't done as well as IPED. But he was granted a great honor. But we don't ask for honor, we do. So that's one, two. The third was after the takeover, Booker takeover, Sandwich takeover. Oliver Jessel had started a company here called, and it was for people who were earning little money and they wanted to put it up, they will get a nice interest. The government decided, this is sometimes the stupidity of government, I'll say it, because I've seen a lot of that in my time. The government decided, no, we don't want that capitalism. And this was simply learning people how to put aside a little for a rainy day. Anyway, the government refused. I got in touch with Oliver Jessel in London, and he said to me, Yesu, why you get in touch with me? You are one of the founding directors of that company. You don't come to me, do something about it, man. And I decided, I'll take it over. And it's now under the ambit of the same company, Guyana Unit Trust. That's the name of it. They have one in Trinidad, but it doesn't do as well as this one we have here. And the reason for this is not well managed, not only well managed, the directors don't take a penny out. And that's one of my own directives. It does very, very well. And that again is free. I don't charge. I don't take a penny out. I'm well paid. I've always been since returned to Guyana. And then I need not give you all the companies. I only will give you one that I'm very proud of. And that is Demerara Bank. Demerara Bank, I always had a concept of founding a bank. I applied maybe was 19, and I had 3 good partners with me. They were willing to come in. David DeCaris and Miles Fitzpatrick, 2 eminent lawyers. We applied for a license, but we were turned down. Anyway, we had to wait. Circumstances never remained the same. The government changed, and I was the first again, was in line for a license. And this is not a license to steal, this is a license to put money away to earn interest so someone can do something with that money. Send their children to university, send them to school or whatnot. Anyway, today, nearly 25 years later, I would venture to say that Demerara Bank is so highly successful, I will deem it the second most profitable bank in Guyana, from zero. I'm not going to go on giving you more stories, but there are lots more stories. Other than to say, my motto has always been, and I learned this, I read a text when I was about 16 years old, very great lover of books. My father was a cane cutter, okay? And he ain't know nothing but book, but he was a sensible man. When them overseers used to go away, they could come and then they go. All the books they usually sell. And this old guy would go and buy the books. And then he will store it in cases for me. And when I was about the age to start reading, I don't know how many of you know what a mamu means. Mamu is an uncle, my mother, brother. Came home one day and said, man, look, you got some treasure here. You start reading this thing? I said, look, I'm starting now. And what I had there, it was some real classics of English literature. How many of you here, if you haven't read Oliver Twist, I would suggest read Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. It will show you what England was in those days and how people were treated like, although they were not slaves, far from it, remembering Oliver Twist, poor young boy, about 10 years old, going up to the beadle, and they gave him a little food in a bowl. So he went up to the beadle and he says, "Sir, please, can I have some more?" The beadle said, "Yeah, more." Pick up the whip. And that was it. So, indeed, I would suggest, I know that people in Guyana, they want to look at television. Please stop looking at television. Read books. There are books out there that will really lift your spirits and lift you into a new sphere. And I would suggest one book you should read, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens again. It was during the war. You know, you had a war between Napoleon and the whole of the continent. England had its problems this side and France on the other side. It's a classic to read. If you haven't read it, but they don't sell books anymore, but I'm certain we could get a book shops to start, even if we get a paperback, start reading, because you're missing so much. Your intelligence will also move upwards. So I don't think I should go more than that. I don't know to say. Whatever I have done over my life is strictly because I wanted to do it. I say with great humility, I know I came from a sugar estate. I came from a lodge, but my aim was not to stay in the lodge, not to stay in the sugar estate, is to improve myself. And the only way I could have done that is to do it the hard way. Go enslaved in England, but I slaved for good. Attending at first 3 evening classes until I was mature enough to go to one full-time class. So ladies and gentlemen, members of this esteemed, privileged company here, I call you company today. I thank you very much for granting me this privilege, and I hope I haven't said too much that is out of the way. I wanted to explain that we are what we make ourselves. And one other little phrase, remember, nothing happens unless you make it happen. Chairman, Vice Chairman.